Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to paint some apples. So let's start with a large size filbert. I'm going to take this one, which is a size 6, and I want to do an underpainting of a yellow color. So we want to take yellow on the palette and get quite a bit of water in there. And this is just going to be a nice initial wash. And just kind of place that yellow in there. Kind of put it on the middle of the apples and then use enough water to kind of blend it out and thin it out on the paper. Make sure that you're using a paper that can take a water medium. So a watercolor paper, or what I'm using is a multimedia paper. And then I'm going to switch to the other apple and do the same thing. And I took a picture of these apples with my phone and I put the picture up on Pinterest. Just go to my board that's linked in the bio, in the description of the video, and you can find the board that says reference photos, and that's where I'm trying to upload all the pictures of my reference photos. And this sketch is fairly easy to do, so you could sketch it out yourself or take a screenshot if you need a little more help. Okay, so we have those initial washes down, and let's move to the leaves. And I'm going to switch to a smaller size 4 filbert. And I want to put in the darker shades of the leaves. So to do that, I have this army green color that was from like a craft paint bottle that I found at the craft store. And I'm going to take that army green and then mix it up with a little bit of Vandyke Brown, just to get a darker shade of green for our shadow. And then see if I can put that on the bottom of the leaf shape. And I'm also going to put it along the stem. So I'm just kind of using the end of that brush, or rather the side of the brush, to get a nice stem. And it's okay if it skips. That's going to add a little bit more texture to the painting, which is fine. And then I'm thinking about where the shadow is. I'm just trying to put that darker value in where that shadow is. Okay, so then you can let that dry before moving on to the next step if you would like. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to switch back to the size 6 filbert, and I have this other shade that's pre-mixed that I got at the craft store. It's like a nice mossy green color, really beautiful. And I'm going to take this color and kind of put it around the edges of the apple. And you can mix your own greens, of course, with a yellow and a blue, but I find a lot of greens can be kind of tricky to mix, and a lot of times they're just a little bit too blue for my taste. So I like to use these pre-mixed shades of green, because to get this color it would take me quite a bit of time to mix the paints in order to get this shade that I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm just going around the edges with that green. I'm going to take a damp brush and I'm going to try to do some blending. I don't want to cover up all the yellow, but I just want to blend that green in and try to get a nice three-dimensional shape here. So the apple, going back to your basic shapes, it's a sphere. So one side is going to be in shadow and then the other side is going to be in light. So think about where your light source is coming from before you start painting. And that can help you a lot. So this side is actually in shadow, so it is quite a bit darker. So I should probably add a little bit more paint to that side. And then let's go up and do the upper apple. And for that one, we have kind of a little pit in the middle. So I'm going to take some of that brownish green that we had, and I'm going to pop that in there. That's in quite a bit of shadow. And then I want that to dry. And then I'll go back to that mossy green. And if you look on the reference photo, that one, it's got quite a bit of green coming around the bottom of the apple. So this is a really good exercise or a project to do when you're working on making your shapes look three-dimensional. So same thing, this side is in shadow, so I can add just a little bit more of that green. And you can see that yellow that we did for an underpainting just kind of poking through and giving it a really beautiful glowing effect. Okay, and take your time with this. You don't have to rush. We're just painting for fun and for relaxation. So it doesn't have to be too serious. And you don't have to make anything look really good, so don't put any pressure on yourself when you're doing this. And you can think about the direction of your brush strokes as well, kind of moving the stroke in the direction of form where you have curves in the apple. Okay, and if I put a little bit too much green here, I can take a damp brush and kind of try to lift some of that out and just kind of soften it. Okay, so that looks good. Let's try to let that dry a little bit so we can move on to the leaves. So I want to take some of this dark shade, this army green that we have, and I'm going to put another layer onto the leaves. For leaves, I just like to kind of build up the layers, and I don't make them too complex. If you do like to do that, you can go back with a finer brush and add some more details. But I like to keep those fairly simple. So I might switch to a smaller detail brush to fix some of the branches. So I'm going to take a size 0 spotter. And then I might take some of this Burt Sienna color and see if I can add some of that in to the branch. Just kind of use the tip of that brush. You can see how warm that color is. It's got a lot of orange undertones in it. And that's just going to give us a little more variety, a little more dimension. You don't have to use Burnt Sienna. You could use any shade of brown that you have. Okay, so now let's add the red. So I'm going to take this size 6 filbert. And for the red, I have this vermilion, which is like a red-orange shade. And I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this magenta that I have, my split primary palette. And then let's see what happens when we just put this kind of in the middle of the apple here. So you have to be a little careful because you know that the complementary colors green and red can make a brown color when they're mixed together because they're opposites. So you can make sure that the green is completely dried, but it's still going to make a little bit of a brown shade as they mix on the page. But let's just kind of put that red down, and you can see it's looking pretty nice. Try not to cover all of that yellow because you want that to shine through. And then this one has a little bit of red here in the middle. And the paint's pretty watery, so that's okay. It's giving us a nice watercolor effect. And then let's do that same thing with the top apple. We'll add a little bit of vermilion red with a little bit of magenta. And then we'll put that in. The top apple, if you look at the reference photo, it doesn't have as much color in it. And I'm kind of making these strokes kind of curved, so it's giving us that information that yes, this shape does have a curve to it. And then there's some red poking out at the bottom. Okay, and then I can take a damp brush and just kind of blend that a little bit. All right, so I like the way that looks. I do want to bring a little bit more red into this part of the apple. So I might do just kind of glaze over it one time just to make it look a little more cohesive, so there's not just like one yellow big spot in the middle. And I could add a little bit more red. Can go with that magenta, put a few spots here and there, that beautiful pink to kind of pop out. And I can do the same on this side. Okay, you could take some white and see if you could add a nice highlight with that straight titanium white. Putting my highlight right here. And then there's a highlight right here. Just kind of let that dry. And I'm going to take that mossy green and then add just a little bit more information onto the leaf. Maybe cover up some of that brown. Okay, kind of step back and assess your work. So it looks good to me. I like the way it's looking. I have this little spotter tool, which is like a clay tool, and I'm going to take this to add some spots onto the apple, just some white spots. And these are showing up in the photograph. So I think it would be nice to add these as a little detail. Just try to make them very random, kind of like stars. You don't want it to be too exact. Let's put them in a nice random pattern. Okay, so I don't want to overdo the piece, so I'm going to stop here. If you're working on this at home, you could take your time, let things dry, and then go back and add some more details or some more layers. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a chance to paint along with me. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye!